Okay, if you were around in the mid-90s, I mean, you literally couldn't turn on the radio without hearing Cake. That deadpan voice, that killer trumpet, those super funky bass lines, they were everywhere. But here's the thing. Even though they were all over alt-rock radio, they never really fit in, you know? They were always their own weird, wonderful thing. So let's get into it. Let's figure out what makes Cake, well, Cake. And that brings us to the big question, the one that really got me thinking, straight from a fan debate online. Is Cake just a 90s novelty band, a quirky little time capsule? Or is there something more going on? Does their music actually stand the test of time? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. Let's break it down. So check this out. This quote from a fan is probably the best place to start. You know who Cake sounds like? Cake. I mean, that just nails it right. It's simple, but it's so true. You can't really compare them to anyone else because they sound like themselves. And that's our first clue, this totally unique, one-of-a-kind sound. So, how did they pull that off? How do you create a sound that's so distinct it can only be compared to itself? Well, it's not magic. It's actually a pretty wild recipe of musical styles. Let's get into what makes up that genre-bending sound. I mean, just look at this list. It's kind of nuts when you see it all laid out. You've got your basic alternative rock skeleton, right? But then they throw in these unbelievably funky bass lines that just make you want to move. Then, out of left fields, a little bit of country twang on the guitar. On top of that, you've got these almost hip-hop-inspired rhythms. And, of course, the secret ingredient, those amazing mariachi trumpet lines. On paper, this should be a total mess. But somehow, it just works. It's brilliant. And really, the heart and soul of this whole sound comes down to the push and pull between these two guys, John McCrea and Vince DiFiore. So you've got John with his totally deadpan, almost sarcastic spoken word style vocals. He's like the wry storyteller. And then you've got Vince on the trumpet. And it's not just background noise. It's like a whole other character, this soaring, emotional voice that answers and argues with the vocals. That back and forth, that's the magic right there. That's pure Cake. Oh, and we can't talk about their sound without mentioning the secret weapon, the vibroslap. You know that sound, right? That rattling sound? That's it. It's such a weird, specific instrument, but it's so Cake. It's these little quirky details, these unconventional choices that just stack up to create a sound you can spot from a mile away. All right, so we've got the sound down. It's unique, it's quirky, it's undeniable. But what about the lyrics? What are they actually talking about? Let's take a look at their biggest hit, The Distance. Now, we all know this song. It's this awesome driving rock anthem, right? But what if I told you it's not what you think it is? There's a whole other layer hiding just beneath the surface. Yeah, you heard it. You pictured a guy in a race car, hands on the wheel, going for the win. We all did. But nope, that's not it. The whole car race thing, it's a metaphor. And it's for something way darker, way more sad, actually. Don't just take my word for it. Here's what John McCrea himself said about it. He calls it a song about the failure of success. Whoa, think about that for a second. The failure of success. He says it's a sad song because there is no success. The whole point is that this guy is chasing something he can never, ever catch. The finish line is an illusion. Let's actually walk through the story the song tells us. So the race ends. The fans all go home. The arena is totally empty. The trophy, the cup, it's gone. Someone else won. But our guy, he's still driving, still going in circles. Why? Because he's haunted. The lyrics say he's got bowel-shaking earthquakes of doubt and remorse. He's not driving toward anything anymore. He's running away from himself, stuck in this endless loop, chasing who knows what. So, okay, we've got a sound that's completely their own. We've got lyrics that are way deeper than they seem, but it doesn't stop there. Cake's whole way of being a band is different. They have this whole ethos, this worldview that's all about independence and doing things their own way. It's pretty incredible. And this is the perfect example, their 2011 album, Showroom of Compassion. They didn't go to some fancy LA studio. No, they built their own studio in their hometown of Sacramento. And get this, they ran the whole thing on solar power. Then they released the album themselves, no major label, and it went to #1 on the Billboard charts. #1. That's just awesome. I mean, this just shows you how they operate on a whole different level. The typical band, they record in a big, expensive studio, probably owned by their label, powered by the city grid. Cake, they build their own place and power it with the sun. Other bands sell you a t-shirt at a show. Cake gives you a tree sapling to go plant. They just consistently choose the path that's more independent, more thoughtful, and honestly way cooler.
And you know, this whole tree thing wasn't some marketing gimmick. It came from a really personal place for John McCrea. He tells a story about how he planted a little tree, totally forgot about it, and then years later he sees it again, and it's this huge 27-foot-tall giant. And that experience, that feeling of seeing something small grow into something amazing, that made him think, hey, everyone should experience this. And just like that, the famous cake tree giveaway was born.
And this wasn't just a small-time thing. It grew into something huge. They partnered with One Tree Planted, a nonprofit, and set a goal to plant, get this, 48,000 trees, specifically to help reforest parts of the West Coast that have been hit by wildfires. I mean, talk about making a real impact, all from that one little idea. Okay, so let's recap the evidence. We have a sound that's completely unique. We have lyrics that are surprisingly deep. And we have a band that operates with this fiercely independent, eco-conscious spirit. So let's go back to where we started, that big question. Are they a 90s novelty or are they timeless? It's time to hear from the jury, the fans. First up, this comment. I love this. Cake is timeless. They were a band apart from the rest during the 90s. And that's such a great point, because they weren't trying to sound like anyone else back then. They don't sound dated now. They were never part of a trend, so they could never go out of style.
And this one builds on that same idea perfectly. Basically, they're so unique that you could drop them into almost any decade of music and they'd still sound like outliers, and they'd still find their people. Their sound isn't tied to an era, which means it can fit into any era.
Okay, and this last one might just be the nail in the coffin for the novelty argument. Think about it. If Cake released one of their classic albums today, you wouldn't think it was retro music. It wouldn't sound like a throwback. It would just sound like a cool modern album. That right there tells you everything you need to know. So where do we land? Were they just a 90s novelty act? After looking at everything, novelty just feels wrong. A novelty is a gimmick. It's temporary. What Cake has is different. It's originality. It's substance. So maybe novelty or timeless was the wrong question all along. Maybe the real question is it their relentless, stubborn originality that makes them impossible to pin down and, in the end, truly timeless?